explain your feelings now, in retrospect, about Alien and The Resurrected, the two movies. Do you think they were successful, in other words?
I do think that Alien managed to capture some qualities of Lovecraft. Obviously, the storyline is completely different, but in terms of atmosphere, I think it may have been successful at that, which is very gratifying. And The Resurrected is a film that was aborted before it could be born. It is possible to obtain a print of this, but it's not the film I made. It was, the producers took it away from me before it could be released and did an extremely bad job of re-editing it. It's a shame. When I finished shooting it and was editing it myself, I thought it was my best work to date. And to have it mutilated and trashed like that was very disappointing to me.
Do you think Giger succeeded in conveying Lovecraft? He's a Lovecraft aficionado, too.
Oh boy, did he. I mean, there is no other artist who has managed to convey the Lovecraft quality other than Giger. He's the man.
How did you find his work?
Well, once again through Jodorowsky. I'm over there in Paris. It's 1975. Jodorowsky's bringing together these amazing fantasy artists like Jean Giraud, like Chris Foss from different countries. And Giger had a show at the Pompidou Art Museum, I believe it was. And Alejandro went to it and came back very enthusiastic. And he had Giger over to his hotel suite, and he had me to meet him, and I met him there. And he brought with him the book of his work, which had been printed to accompany the show. And I looked at it, and I was fascinated, and I asked if I could borrow it to look at overnight. And I took it back to my hotel room, and I sat up all night looking through it. And I was transformed. You might say Alien was born at that moment, because I thought, boy, gee whiz, if somebody could get this guy to design a monster movie, nobody would ever have seen anything like that on the screen. But of course, it's impossible. I'll never achieve that.
What did you think of him as an individual?
He's a wonderful guy, Rudy. You look at pictures of him, he dresses like Dracula, he puts on these expressions. You might think he's a spooky person. But I spent a lot of time with him, and he's the nicest guy in the world. I've always enjoyed adapting the works of really fine writers in horror and science fiction. I've had the opportunity to adapt Phil Dick, Lovecraft, and others, and it's always very, very stimulating and very exciting to have the opportunity to work with the works of people whose work I admire so much. And they're hard to adapt. They're very, very difficult to adapt, and that's part of the thrill. Seeing if you can convey what they've written onto the screen. And it gives me a certain smug chuckle to watch other people try to adapt these authors' work to the screen and just fall all over themselves.
Well, you've done well with it.
I've done okay with it.
You're very good at it.
Well, I'm very, very loyal to the word, the written word. What I try to do, you see, is I try to keep and capture and convey the very best qualities of the original author while fixing things that don't work technically, plot structures, things like that. Things that are poorly explained, and to come up with better justifications while not changing the good stuff. That would be my advice to anybody adapting the works of any really good author. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Now, you have an obvious interest in Lovecraft and arcane things, Lovecraft Circle people as well. Can you talk about your project, the Necronomicon, a little bit? What drove you to start to do that?
Well, now, I came across this project in a very mysterious way. Back in 1975, I was in Paris working with Alejandro Jodorowsky, a Chilean filmmaker. And he was very much a mystic, and for a time he was, you can say, my guru. And he had discovered something in the Bibliothèque Nationale, a document there, and it was someone's PhD thesis. And he brought it to my attention, and I looked at it, and it turned out to be a study of the Necronomicon, the real Necronomicon. It's the closest I've ever gotten to the actual original text. And I was so struck by this that I felt it needed to be brought to the attention of English-speaking readers. And so I spent the better part of 10 years carefully translating this into English, and I finally got it to a point where it's ready to be seen, I think, by the public at large. All it remains is to discover a way to market this so that people who want a copy can obtain it.
So this document, was it written by multiple individuals?
No, it was the PhD thesis of a student at the was it the Sorbonne? I'm sorry, I forget for a moment. And he certainly quoted many other individuals, but it was primarily written a long essay quoting substantial chunks of the Necronomicon from different translations. There was the Latin translation, there was the Greek translation, there was the English translation, and this author had managed to obtain the opportunity to look at original copies and to copy extensive passages from this. And this is what interested me. Because there have been, over the last several years, a couple of books marketed under the name Necronomicon. But when you open them, they turn out not to be the real thing. So, I became very impatient with these fictional Necronomicons. I think it's time the world saw the real thing.
Any other comments you'd like to add about Lovecraft, cosmic horror, or adapting the works?
Lovecraft lived the perfect life of the horror fantasist writer. He was destitute, alone in a room, blacked out the windows so he could be writing at night, had dreams so that he could write the dreams, worked with absolute focus and concentration on achieving what he had set out to achieve, and then lived a short life. He lived as perfect a life of the horror writer as Van Gogh lived for a painter. Both of them gave everything they had to their work. They achieved the ultimate. No one equals Van Gogh as a painter. No one equals Lovecraft as a writer. And neither of them lived to see the full appreciation of their work. As for me, to receive this award at this time of my life is, in some respects, a culmination of my career. I'm very grateful for it. It's a beautiful thing. I thank you very much. Thank you, Andrew.